Yo, what's good? Welcome to another show. I'm Sid, and we're back with CNBC, how YouTube beat Netflix and Disney in the streaming wars, which kind of makes sense again. I just did the AI animal one. This title is appealing because I'm obsessed with YouTube, but also seems really obvious, to me at least, that YouTube would be the biggest streaming platform in the world, even though most people probably don't even consider it to be a streaming platform. But I guess we'll find out. This video looks like it's split into parts, so I'll watch the introduction, pause it, and then after each part, maybe add some thoughts. I'll try not to pause that much. But yeah, let's get it.
The transition from traditional television to streaming services has led to a major cord cutting across the country.
So did Netflix just win the latest round of the streaming wars?
I see them as winning the streaming wars.
Netflix, the great media disruptor. A company that turned the entertainment industry on its head.
In light of Netflix's ability to just be the king in this sandbox.
As established media companies struggle to turn a profit on their own streaming services, many pundits crown Netflix the winner in the streaming wars, the OG of subscription streaming, the king of digital content.
I always say the crown as a program may be over, but it has been crowned the most successful media company and most valuable, and it will continue.
Netflix makes up more than 7% of total TV usage in the US.
How much?
But, surprise, makes up more than 7% of total TV usage in the US.
Okay.
But, surprise, it's technically not winning the streaming wars.
I'm gonna spend the next 50 hours buried alive in this coffin.
You gotta be honest, I kind of think I can do expert.
No.
Markiplier! And that one.
The most watched streaming platform is YouTube.
Hi, friends!
I kind of have a different take on this.
YouTube, of course, isn't new. You know that already. It was founded in 2005.
I do know that.
But what is new is its accelerating domination of the living room. More than half of all YouTube viewing is now done on a traditional television.
I gotta pause for that. I don't think I've ever watched YouTube on a TV. Like, I'm sat in a room right now with two enormous TVs on the wall, and I'm still using a monitor to watch this video on. Like, it's just not natural for me. I watch movies on a TV when I go to the cinema, like on a big old projector screen, and I watch everything else on my laptop or an external monitor. But the idea of watching anything on a TV just does not appeal to me. I don't think I've actually owned a TV since I was a child. Like, I've never owned a TV. Whatever.
The Alphabet-owned video streaming platform has led the entire streaming space in overall time watched for 15 consecutive months, ahead of Netflix. And if you zoom out to the entire TV world, we're talking cable, broadcast, and streaming, YouTube is still watched more than every other media company's platforms other than Disney, which owns Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN, ABC, and other cable networks like FX and Nat Geo.
Imagine being YouTube and out-competing Disney, who literally owns every single media company in America, minus like 5. Like, they are enormous. And then YouTube comes in and they're like, oh, we don't even make content, but we're bigger than you. I mean, they do. They have the YouTube originals and all that stuff, but that's probably like less than a fraction of a percent of the content that's generated on their platform. It's all user-generated content. I'm contributing somehow in the tiniest little way to this statistic. I imagine people like Mr. Beast, PewDiePie, Mark Rober are some of the largest contributors, but overall, it's mostly about time spent, right? So yeah, this is kind of cool.
This is whether we're talking Disney Plus or Hulu or Paramount Plus. You look at who's still growing the greatest share year over year. It is insane that YouTube is still dominating the growth rate,
Is it?
even despite their size.
How is that insane? I think that makes perfect sense. Anybody can make a YouTube video. Anybody can make a channel. Anybody can make money from posting videos on YouTube. Why would it not continue to grow? Like, you watch a movie like Top Gun or Mission Impossible, you look at Tom Cruise and you're like, oh, that's cool. Tom Cruise is doing that thing that I can never do, so I'm just gonna watch it. Whereas, even though Mr. Beast is like the biggest on the platform, you can look at his videos and be like, oh, that's really cool. If I work hard enough, maybe I could reach a level where I'm able to do stuff like that. It feels achievable. And if that one doesn't look attainable, then there's a step down and a step down. You could be like Rhett and Link and host your own morning show. You don't have to pitch it to an executive. You don't have to take it to Hollywood. You can be like in any country in the world, and all you need is a camera and a microphone and a laptop, and you're good to go. I feel like this video is coming from the perspective of old heads who just weren't there, who just missed this whole revolution, and now they're looking at it like, what? Where did it come from? That's crazy. Can you believe it? People like YouTube. Ah.
The competitor for time and attention is obviously not good for streamers.
If YouTube is already this far ahead and growing, should other streamers be worried? Even Netflix?
Yeah, maybe not Netflix, but all the other ones are just so expensive for so little content comparatively. Like, you might pay $10 for Netflix or $10 for Spotify and Hulu and Amazon Prime, and you have Amazon Prime, and now you have to buy the channels to watch extra stuff, and each one of those is $5 or $10 a month. Same on Apple TV. Oh, you want Apple TV? That's $8. Oh, you want Apple TV and other stuff like cloud storage? That's like $40 a month. Plus all the channels that you can buy separately from Amazon. They don't cross over. So if you have Paramount Plus on one, you have to buy it on the other to watch it on. It's absurd how expensive it is. Like, YouTube does have a premium service, but you don't really need it. It's ad supported. So you can sit there, watch the ads, and consume as much content as you want for free. Or you can pay £8 and get a few premium benefits. I just don't understand. I think because Netflix is the oldest, it has a better chance of surviving long term, as people are more likely to say, oh, well, I've had this for 10 years, I'm just going to keep it, versus something like Hulu or Sling or Paramount Plus or any of these crappy ones, Hey You. Like, there's just so many. It's not worth it. But the idea of taking content and splitting it up across all these packages, it just sucks, right? Plus the licensing deals are insane. Friends was on Netflix, and now it's not. The Office was on Netflix, and then NBC came up with their own Peacock, and now The Office is on Peacock. So if you want to watch that one show, you've got to pay for a whole separate subscription. Nonsense. I hate it. I would never advocate for torrents. Ever.
It's been almost 2 decades since Netflix moved to online streaming, kicked off a massive shift in the entertainment industry. A race to the top that would eventually be deemed the streaming wars. Currently, almost every major media entity is represented in the space in one way or another, all vying for the attention of a massive digital audience dominated by younger viewers.
So many media executives that we would run into is they always sort of try to silo and say, okay, there's this thing called premium content. That's what you make for TV or for streaming. And then there's this other stuff that you watch on YouTube.
Now you may be thinking, isn't YouTube a social media site? Is calling it a streaming service comparing apples to oranges?
When you think about time spent, it's absurd to separate it into different buckets. Whether you're watching the NFL or whether you're watching TikTok or whether you're watching YouTube, it doesn't matter. It's just time.
When Google bought YouTube back in 2006, it paid $1.65 billion for a platform that was only a year old at the time. Fast forward to today, and analyst Michael Nathanson says YouTube alone could be worth $400 billion.
That's kind of wild, but it also makes perfect sense.
Not only worth more than Netflix, it's worth more than Disney and Comcast combined.
Wait, Disney, the company? The whole company? That's cool. That's impressive. I like that. But it makes perfect sense to me. Like, especially considering the revenue split of AdSense, is that YouTube will give 55% of the revenue they generate back to the creator whose video they played ads against, which is an insane split. You don't get that on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and you definitely do not get that with network television or even other streaming services. Like, they go on strike specifically for this because they feel like they're being underpaid in those other areas. Whereas YouTubers compete for attention in the same way, but the revenue split is so significantly favored towards the creator that, like, both sides benefit. There's no hostility as far as the money comes. It's like, I make the best content I can, I get paid a fair amount. And so YouTube gets paid a fair amount. And the more that cycle continues, the bigger the company gets. Obviously, this is just an estimate, 400 billion. They're a subsidiary of Google, which is itself a subsidiary of Alphabet. So it's probably difficult to like accurately estimate this, but I believe it. I believe that they're probably worth more.
But YouTube is still the 800-pound gorilla in this space, and I do believe they're a pretty unstoppable juggernaut.
Facts.
Globally, YouTube is the second most visited website in the world, sitting just behind its parent company, Google, in monthly traffic.
So they have two modalities, the traditional horizontal video, they have the vertical video, they have the personalization engine that I think is kicking in a big way.
That is increasingly one of the biggest and fastest growing platforms we're on. And when people are sitting down to watch TV, they're increasingly turning on YouTube. And you see a lot of what you'd expect, which is that they are watching longer sessions, longer content. A lot of our biggest creators are starting to make longer content for the TV explicitly.
More than 1 billion hours of YouTube content is watched on TVs every day, with 150 million connected TV viewers tuning in each month. The amount of YouTube creators who say the majority of their watch time comes from TV climbed more than 400% in just 3 years.
Wow.
We're not talking about your...
That kind of makes me want to check out my own analytics, because I imagine mine are a little skewed. People probably specifically watch for people that they want to see, like maybe reactions to specific bands or whatever. My content is probably an outlier in that regard, but I'm still curious about the split between mobile, desktop, and TV. I've never really thought about it, but I'll probably have a look after.
Mobile phone, your laptop that I'm sure you see your kids using all the time, but on the biggest screen in the house, the TV, 25% of the streamed content is coming from YouTube. Every executive has to be paying attention.
Another major factor behind YouTube's success is the cost, or lack of it. While younger audiences have shied away from $100 per month for cable TV, nothing is more appealing or user-friendly than free.
YouTube makes a lot of money because they keep it free. The minute you put up that wall, a literal paywall between the product you're trying to push and the people you want to push it to, people aren't going to care.
Yeah.
And that brings us to YouTube's other secret weapon. It's content and content creators.
They're producing at a level that is...
It is trying to push out, though, that idea into like join a membership for this channel for £5, YouTube. Or even on Facebook and Instagram, they're like, subscribe for special updates and to be a part of the community. Imagine you follow like 500 people on Instagram and each one of them is asking you for £5 a month to view their content. It's untenable. It's not possible. It almost restricts entertainment to the wealthiest people, but only the wealthy people are making content. So it's almost like just they're watching each other make videos, and it becomes arbitrary. Like, you can only charge so much money for so much stuff before people go, I just don't care. Like, this is not worth it for me. I would rather eat or buy new shoes than give this millionaire $10 a month. You know what I mean?
Consistent with what we've traditionally expected
or
from
this
Hollywood.
$1 billion corporation for like 100 movies that will be gone in 6 months.
The beauty of it and the evolution of what the platform has become is that whatever you want to find on YouTube, you will find it.
This is wild.
YouTube's bread and butter is its user-generated content, or what YouTube likes to call creator-led content. YouTube sees about 3.7 million new videos uploaded to its platform daily. That's more than 271,000 hours of fresh content each day. The responsibility of
I haven't seen the updated statistics on that in a long time. Like, I remember when it was 100 hours a minute. I remember when it was like 500 hours a minute. What did they say now? 271,000 hours a day. That's kind of insane. What is there? 1,440 minutes in a day. I can't do that in my head.
71,000 hours of fresh content each day. The responsibility of content generation falls solely on creators, not the company, saving YouTube billions of dollars.
Our business is much more about scale and audiences and technology, and that's the base that we came from. And that's why you see us typically not also getting into the traditional studio business.
From the creator side, it's something that I think is very, very exciting in the sense of creators.
It's cool that they got actual YouTubers and not just like random pop-off influencers or like marketing execs who have YouTube channels. Like, they genuinely got some of the biggest creators to do these interviews, And so you're getting perspectives that matter, like that actually count for something, versus some guy who runs an ad agency and is like, yeah, I make so much money like promoting my videos on Instagram and YouTube, and like streaming sucks, man. They got Michelle Khare and they got all these, like Brittany Broski. Like, I made a little joke, she's a TikTok girl, but she's cool. I like her. I just don't watch her that much. But yeah, this is nice. I like this.
Can have their work viewed on a television, and the only barrier to entry is the upload button.
For years, traditional media executives
and her content, to be fair, is filmed and produced as if it was an episode of television. Like, they take months to make. She worked very hard behind the scenes, puts it all together, and then presents it as like a 30-minute to an hour-long piece of content that you probably could watch and probably is designed to be watched on a TV. That makes sense.
The only barrier to entry is the upload button.
For years, traditional media executives viewed YouTube's creator-led content as low quality, thinking, sure, it's free, but eventually, users will want to watch something with more substance. But recently, the evidence suggests otherwise.
Yeah.
A 2020...
I've been watching YouTube since literally 2005 or 6. I remember when you could go on this website and watch every video that was posted, and you knew everybody who made videos, and you would comment and those people would reply, or you could make a video response and those people would see them. And the community was small, but it was solid. And even back then, people were doing crazy stuff, like making things just for the sake of it. There was no money at that point, but when there was money and that started rolling, like, it just blew up. Like, it didn't blow up the way you would expect. Like, it didn't become traditional. It became its own thing. It became music and art and vlogs and like comedy and skits, and it expanded in so many directions across the world that it just could not be compared. There's no competition. Like, it's the best thing ever. It's my favorite website. It's my favorite website that's ever been created.
2023 survey found the majority of both Gen Z and younger millennials say user-generated content is their preferred entertainment method. According to a Pew Research study, 71% of teens say they use YouTube daily, with 1 in 5 claiming they're on YouTube almost constantly.
I grew up on YouTube. I think that's a big difference, is I've seen the way that it has...
I grew up on YouTube, and I barely watch TV. And if I did, it was... I won't even say it. I do not advocate torrents. I do not support them. I do not think they are good. You should avoid them at all costs. I didn't have a TV. I like YouTube and other websites.
It's evolved, and it has filled in the space between the streaming platforms. I think there's a lot of like viewers fatigue. There's so much media out there that when you find a person that you really like or that you really resonate with, or a type of content that you like, it fits into a routine of your life.
Part of the draw is reliable, consistent contact, like a relationship, even if it's through a screen. YouTubers are available to their audiences. Viewers aren't waiting for new seasons or renewals of their favorite series. And comments and analytics...
They say that First We Feast is literally on the verge of being cancelled, right? Complex sold it to BuzzFeed, and BuzzFeed is trying to sell it to someone else, and Sean Evans, who you think of as like the main guy behind it, is actually just a paid host. So that is an example of like a corporate entity creating content that appeals to people in that typical YouTube way, that you connect with a human being and their content, and then it gets pulled away from you and you're like, oh geez. Same with Machinima. Machinima was this long-running thing that eventually got bought by, who was it that bought it? AT&T, Verizon, someone ridiculous. And then just as a tax write-off, they shut the whole company, privated all the content. It's gone now. So in a sense, when corporations do get involved, it kind of ruins it. It makes it worse. But yeah, that's just a funny example that they use.
Viewers aren't waiting for new seasons or renewals of their favorite series. And comments and analytics mean creators get real-time feedback on what is and isn't working. During COVID, with millions of people stuck in their houses around the world, YouTube provided people with something more than just passive content.
And that was a perfect example of big networks trying to reproduce the style of content that they had on television, on digital, and struggling. Like, all the late night show hosts had to film in their rooms at home, and they were trying to be entertaining, but without the feedback from a live studio audience, a lot of them struggled. They floundered, and you could tell. Or John Krasinski, who created that Happy Good Morning show that he made, and then after like 4 episodes, sold it to NBC or ABC, and we're going to turn this into a network television show, but I'm not going to host it, and it's going to have nothing to do with me. Like, dude, you just showed up, invaded the space, tried to steal a piece of it and take it back with you. It's transparent, and I would much rather watch people that I know, that even if I don't know them behind the scenes, I feel like I know their content well enough to relate to them in that way. Like, I don't watch a horror movie. Like, I know actors, I know directors, but I don't think about like, oh, when is the next Tom Cruise movie coming out? I just see it on a bus. I'm like, oh, it's coming out. Cool. I guess I'll watch that. It doesn't hit the same. You know what I mean?
Around the world, YouTube provided people with something more than just passive content. It gave them social connection.
People feel like they know me because I'm a friend to them. They can throw me up on the TV and I'm sharing parts of my life. I'm sharing my opinions, what I'm doing every day. A lot of people work from home now. It's just throwing something in the background it's not risking missing out on a chapter. It's just for company, to be honest.
What I've appreciated about being a YouTube creator is having the opportunity to iterate, create content, and receive feedback from an audience immediately. We have so many creators like Red and Link, Jimmy Donaldson, Matt Pat, people who have spent years building their channels into something where you watch those channels and qualitatively can't tell the difference between what we think as traditional and what we think as what you would expect potentially from digital.
I think that's true, except that network television and traditional media is so much more rigidly formatted that you can almost predict like when the ad breaks are coming or when it's teeing up for an emotional moment. Whereas even though a lot of this is influenced by that traditional, it incorporates the more authentic, original YouTube style, and that merging is like a whole brand new format, which I like.
So if you think about it from the creator standpoint, they are getting something that no other platform can give them, which is massive global reach on every device, in every language, all over the world.
YouTube's revenue largely comes from advertising. And while traditional media companies have struggled in recent years to attract ad dollars as cable TV subscriptions have declined, YouTube has soaked up the revenue. In Q1 this year, YouTube saw ad revenue growth of 21% year over year. YouTube's global advertising revenue in 2023 was around $31.5 billion. To put that in perspective, Paramount Global, one of the largest entertainment companies in the world, had total revenue in 2023 of $29.6 billion. That's for the entire company, not just advertising.
And they're hemorrhaging money on Paramount Plus, right? Because they can't just put their archive, their catalog on there. They have to create original content and consistently in order to compete with streaming services like Netflix, who started doing that over a decade ago when they made Orange is the New Black and House of Cards and whatever other, Lilyhammer, remember that one? Like, when they started making original content, it was to demonstrate that they could compete with traditional. And when they started getting Emmys and like nominated for big awards, it kind of proved that that was true. But they also produce like absolute trash just to fill slots, right? And they license stuff, and they have like it's such a complicated business model that I think it's incredibly difficult to be profitable if you're just one channel who decides to go digital versus like an organization like Netflix who started licensing content and selling DVDs in the post, built out their infrastructure online, and then expanded into original programming. Because now they have like a combination of all of it, which Disney probably does have. They're probably one of the better competitors, just technically. But then you have like Amazon and Apple who, instead of producing their own content, they sub-license channels that you can subscribe to and add more content that way. So that's more like traditional cable, I think, like packaging channels. It's very strange.
YouTube shares its profits with its creators. Over the past 3 years, YouTube's partnership program has paid out $70 billion.
Why would I create a show and sell it to a network when I could just put it on YouTube?
Right.
You're self-funding, but if the money you're making from AdSense is going right back into your content to make more money, why do you even have to contact that third party?
Because what we're trying to do here is not like take what's working on TV and throw it on YouTube. We're trying to iterate on it. We're trying to be additive to it, put our own spin on it, and ultimately develop our own version of storytelling.
And they don't have like to take notes from anyone. There's no executive, no producer, no money guy at the top who's saying, oh, I don't think that's gonna work. Oh, I don't think that audiences will watch that. Or like, you just have your own analytics. You can look at retention data and go, okay, this didn't work, maybe we should change it. But at the end of the day, you're in charge. You're the person making those decisions, those creative decisions, those business decisions, that it is like a whole new world in terms of creating entertainment and content. It could be any genre too. It could be news, it can be like comedy, it could be drama. Animation, yeah, that one struggles because of the length versus the watch time. But it still can find mass appeal, like Meat Canyon and people like that. Jaden Animations, they succeed despite the algorithmic challenges that they face as animation content creators. So there's a chance for everyone.
Yourself onto Paramount Plus would be like a death sentence to these creators because you would be constricting the visibility to such a small level.
Yeah.
It's unclear if YouTube's still growing popularity presents an existential crisis to traditional media.
Did he say existential? You're supposed to be you're a newsman.
YouTube's still growing popularity presents an existential crisis to traditional media. But it's at least worth considering that streamers, including Netflix, may soon need a YouTube strategy to address changing consumption habits, especially among younger viewers.
Can you create a competitor? I'm sure you could. It's certainly not in the DNA of any of these companies.
It's too difficult at this point, I think. I think YouTube has got it. Netflix is the closest. Both YouTube and Netflix have added games recently, and it wouldn't surprise me if Netflix eventually added some sort of shorts. I think they do, right? They have previews of content presented as shorts when you watch on mobile, but like dedicated shorts by creators or behind the scenes content, featurettes. I think if they started adding back like audio commentaries and additional features like bonus content, the light went off again, that they could potentially compete in that way. But YouTube is so ingrained in the culture. It's such a like important part of most people's lives now as they grow up. It's just the place to go. It's second to Google for a reason. And I wasn't going to pause this many times, but I really like YouTube. So
now, that being said, you are seeing talent.
Boaz is just unprecedented.
That grew up.
He would never have succeeded anywhere but YouTube. Even though he did have his Comedy Central special, it came from that. And then he leveraged that to become something far beyond.
In the UGC world, start to make inroads into the streaming world.
You need to make sure you got the scale, you need to make sure you got the technology capability, and you need to make sure you got the balance sheet. And there's probably only a couple companies that can do that.
Definitely having an impact on traditional television now. Then you layer on things like Netflix and Amazon Prime doing advertising now. And, you have a recipe for a very, very difficult next decade for traditional linear television.
Not that long ago, traditional media companies saw Netflix as a companion service rather than a competitor. Then Netflix got so popular that it started to compete for shows and movies against the media companies who supplied it with content.
Yeah, that was a big thing, right? Is when they started buying like films from festivals. Like that's how a lot of films get distributed, is a company will go to a film festival, they'll watch a bunch of stuff like Sundance or Tribeca, and then a distributor will buy the rights to distribute that content, whether it's in theaters or on DVD or streaming everywhere around the world, and you'll sell the rights in different countries. Netflix comes along, and rather than just licensing it as one of those things, licensing it from the distributors to be like, oh, we want to put it on our thing around the world in these countries. Now they're like, nah, we're just going to buy the rights. It's ours. We're taking that. We're slapping our logo on it, which is insane. When that happened, that was wild.
It's fair to wonder, is YouTube ultimately a companion or a competitor.
We'll presume that the other streamers are our competitors. They're some of our best partners, right? Because I think the strategy I see them leaning into is using supplementary distribution platforms like YouTube to get out their content, their marketing, their engagement with younger people and younger audiences.
At the end of the day, Disney is a storytelling machine. And we use YouTube, that short form video on YouTube, as more of a promotional device. Now you can still make money on it. Now you can put a trailer for Frozen 2, a 2-minute trailer on YouTube, and actually have advertising attached to it and sponsorship attached to it. So you can kind of kill two birds with one stone. You can promote your product and you can monetize on YouTube.
This video you're watching right now is an example of this exact strategy. CNBC, a cable television network, utilizing YouTube to expand its reach.
Which is clever, and one of the reasons I like CNBC is because they produce video essays in the style of YouTubers who create video essays. And while they are more traditionally formatted, they have the little sections and it is structured more like mini episodes of television. It is different enough that it appeals to me as someone who primarily spends their time on YouTube. CNBC, Vox, they are similar to me as Johnny Harris or Nerdwriter or Every Frame a Painting. This is its own category, and I can appreciate what they've been doing while they make these videos.
Think about how often you see SNL or Late Night with Jimmy Fallon clips go viral online.
These two, SNL and Jimmy Fallon, were some of the earliest YouTube partners. Back in 2006, 2007, I think they worked with NBC to put those channels online, which is why The Lonely Island went viral, because their digital shorts were part of that original YouTube deal with NBC to produce digital content based on the SNL format. So these two are kind of an exception to the rule in that they got in super early, but yeah, I get what he's saying.
YouTube is expanding reach, which is great for media companies, but YouTube is also competing against these same companies' streaming services. And the more time you all watch YouTube, the less time you watch everything else.
Sports is also subject to the same phenomenon, where young people are watching highlights and highlights only, and the whip-arounds like the Red Zone Network.
What we're seeing from all of these traditional media companies is they don't have enough content. And it's too expensive to produce the types of premium content at scale that they need. And so maybe YouTube or maybe the UGC economy is a place they look not to create their competitor, but as a lower cost way to add content to their services.
The magic of YouTube is the ability to have all of these types of content and all of these business models side by side in one place, because we originated from the creator ecosystem.
And they better stay there, because if they stray too far, then it all falls apart. But this was a cool video. I like this a lot. I did not expect to pause it so much. 13-minute video. I've been recording for 33 minutes, so if anybody made it to the end, then please leave a comment and let me know, because I check my retention and most people don't even make it 5 minutes into a video this long. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, because I find all this stuff really interesting. I think CNBC is a great channel, and if there's any specific videos from here or other video essays that you would want me to check out, oh look, the lights came back on, then let me know. The feedback is great, and I'm trying to do different stuff other than music videos, just because I find it to be a little bit restrictive, and I would like to maybe eventually move into something like this, where I'm doing film reviews or commentaries or something that's maybe more edited and structured. But yeah, hope you're all having a great day. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.